To that one commenter that recommended I should do some Salomon shoes, now's the time. What's good everyone on YouTube? It's me again, back with another video, and I know it's been a while, but I've just been quite busy now with my new job and everything. But today we're actually going to be looking at a brand for the first time on this channel. We're taking a look at a pair of Salomon shoes. And for this shoe, this is actually a collaboration between Salomon and designer Boris Bidjan Saberi. I apologize if I get that wrong. Easier to just shorten it to BBS, and actually it's specifically a subdivision brand 11 by BBS, which is a little bit of an avant-garde mixed with like tech wear kind of aesthetic. And before we go any further, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe down below and hit the bell notification so you never miss a video I upload. But without further ado, today we'll be taking a look at the Bamba 5 in just the black-white colorway. So starting off with the box, we have a pretty standard all-black box, but we've got a gloss 11 done on the top in a really big sort of font. And then we've got a small Salomon logo down at the bottom. I'm not sure if that's going to show up on the camera. And then we've got the S and 11 on the side as well. Then flipping over the box, we're actually greeted with this card initially. I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'll just try and get that in focus on camera so you can read it later yourself. Then the shoes were wrapped with pretty standard sort of paper. It's done in this sort of black color, and the shoes were stuffed with pretty standard packing paper. And if we move to the label, it actually doesn't tell you the model name, but as most people know, this is the Bamba 5. So the retail price on these. The retail price on Bamba 5s, depending on if they're dyed or non-dyed pairs, usually very high, like anywhere between 600 to 700 Australian dollars, I believe. I actually picked these up for Black Friday, and it ended up being closer to around 450 or 400 Australian dollars. I'll find the exact figure and put the conversion here. And to be honest, all of the 11 by BBS stuff is incredibly expensive, which is why it's been a very long time that I never really pulled the trigger on them. But like finally for Black Friday, I did find a decent deal. And this was my favorite colorway of the Bamba 5, so I decided, you know what, let's go for it. But without further ado, with the box out of the way, let's get into the shoes. And here we are, the Salomon and 11 by BBS Bamba 5 in the black-white colorway. So just by initially looking at this shoe, it has a very strong resemblance to other Salomon models that aren't part of the collaboration. Specifically to me, when I look at this shoe, it reminds me a lot of the Salomon XT6, especially with the midsole tooling, which is like identical to the XT6. And the upper as well, shape-wise, is a bit similar. But instead of the usual paneling you have of the XT6, we've got more interesting paneling that gives it more of a 11 by BBS sort of vibe. So starting off with the upper, it's a majority black mesh base layer with these sort of white as well as black and slightly silvery overlays placed on top of it. And one thing to note, as many people may already know, a lot of the BBS stuff is known for its object dyeing, but this is one of those rare pairs that actually isn't dyed at all. So this is just the shoe as it is. There are photos of this exact pair, but like dyed, and it does look pretty interesting. But I just kind of like the really high contrast black and white paneling on this. Then moving to the toe box, we actually have this pretty heavy rubberized sort of layer on top. And it's got this really nice honeycomb pattern to it. And then just above that, we've got 11 branding right on the toe, which I think is a very nice sort of subtle usage of the BBS branding for the shoe. Then moving to the label of the shoe running down the tongue, it reads 11 by Boris Bidjan Saberi, Salomon Bamba 5. So the name of the shoe is right there. And this utilizes Salomon's sort of speed lacing system, which is just like a pull tab that you can just pull it all together. And it does a really good job of like tightening all the way from the bottom up to the top. So that's quite nice. And then we've got Salomon branding on the top with a little compartment for the laces to go under on the tongue itself. Then quickly moving to the back, we have some additional branding. We've got 11 on the top with the Salomon logo just below. And then we've got more of that rubberized overlay with the honeycomb pattern. Then taking a look at the insole, we've got the 11 branding with the same sort of 11 by BBS, Salomon, and the Salomon logo. And I do like that the branding on this is actually quite minimal. I do find a lot of Salomon shoes sometimes take it a little too far when it comes to writing Salomon right across the shoe, but I do like this subdued look. Then moving down to the midsole, this is one of Salomon's sort of hiking, running midsoles. So it's supposed to be comfortable for you to do like jogs and stuff, but on like sort of like more trail terrain. And this utilizes what they call AC2 muscle or AC muscle 2. It's some sort of foam. I'm no expert on the foam. And then we've got this ACS sort of plastic caging thing, which I assume is there to provide more stability. There's a lot of sort of like branding. We've got pronation control as well. So for those people who roll inwards, this shoe will stop that. But it's got a very technical look, which I think is really nice about this shoe. Then moving to the outsole, we've got a very vicious sort of trail outsole with these sort of triangular studs, as well as what they call contour grip. I'm assuming that's the rubber they use. But it's a very sort of grippy rubber, and it's got this very vicious sort of traction pattern. So I assume it would be very good on various different surfaces in all kinds of weather. Now that pretty much covers the main features of this particular shoe. In terms of sizing has been an absolute nightmare for the BBS stuff. I do have to give a shout out to Super Daily Life for, I can't remember the exact name of the channel, but I'll put it up here somewhere. They actually left a comment on one of my videos, and I checked out some of their videos, and turns out they did a full guide on like sizing for BBS stuff. And in that video, he recommended going a full size up for the Bamba 5s. And I remember thinking, that's kind of crazy to go full size up. That would be like me wearing a US 10.5. But if I have to be 100% honest, it's not a lie. So before I bought these shoes, I actually went to a store to try on the Bamba 5, but in a different colorway. It was like the object dyed gray ones. And I tried them in a size 10, which was already a half size up, and a 10.5. And I was surprised to find out that with the size 10, my toes were actually just touching the edge. But with the 10.5, it was like the perfect fit. Now, unfortunately, as you probably maybe saw on the label, this is actually a US 11, which is actually like a size and a half up from my usual size. But even in a size 11, given that size 10.5 is pretty much my size, it's pretty much only a half size up. And it was the only one available, so you can't complain much for Black Friday. But I would say that news or that like information I got is pretty accurate. So short story, definitely go a full size up in this shoe. So I'm usually a US 9.5 in most of my sneakers. I bought these in a US 11 and they're slightly big, but they're definitely workable. A US 10.5 would have been perfect in these. And if you've been enjoying the video so far, be sure to leave a like down below and let me know what you guys think of the Salomon and BBS stuff, and what your favorite shoe is. I definitely quite like the Bamba 2s, they're quite interesting, but the Bamba 5s are definitely more just like, I think, an easier shoe to wear. But love to hear what you guys think. Now in terms of comfort, this pretty much feels exactly like a Salomon XT6, and if you've ever worn an XT6 before, you would know that they're definitely a firm ride, but they're a very comfortable ride. So these feel exactly like an XT6 on the bottom. They're using the exact same tooling. So it's that similar sort of like firm ride with a nice sort of like roll to it. There's nothing too crazy going on. It's not like super pillowy and super squishy. Nice. But it's not really intended to be that. It's supposed to be like more supportive. Now the changes to the upper when it comes to the overlays are more aesthetic changes rather than anything else. It still uses the same kind of like mesh material as like an XT6. So it's the same sort of breathable, fairly supportive upper. It's nothing too crazy going on with it. So overall, I would say for, I guess, like a slight designer type shoe, this is actually quite a comfortable shoe. Now I get into the part of the video where I talk about my opinions of this shoe. And as much as I love this shoe and I love the way it looks, I'll have to be 100% honest. Just in general, the 11 by BBS stuff is just way too expensive. Now I understand that like a lot of the shoes have the object dyeing, and like it sort of like adds to the uniqueness of each pair, because no two pairs look the same with like different sort of dyes and how the materials sort of suck up the dye. And I definitely feel like some of the object dyed pairs of shoes I've seen have a really sick aesthetic to them. Some of the Bamba 5s in object dye look really amazing, and I do think it's quite a interesting aesthetic that you don't see very often. I've seen a couple of pairs out in the wild and I've always been very impressed when I see the shoe, but just the price tag has always been a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. I take that back, it's not just a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, it's a very hard pill to swallow, because a lot of these shoes Especially when you consider what Salomon normal shoe prices are like. You could buy close to 3 or 4 pairs of like XT6s if they go on sale as well, for the same price that you would buy something like this. So really, unless you're like super in love with the design, I really don't think that the BBS stuff is worth the money. Because aside from the design sort of changes, the technology is pretty much identical to existing Salomon models. Now, if you're like me and you're definitely looking out for a deal, it's really good to just keep an eye out for any sort of sales that go on, because a lot of the stuff do go on sale. And sometimes you can't be too picky about sizing, because like you're just not gonna find those exact sizes. Like for me, this being like a slight half size bigger isn't ideal, but for the price I got it, I'm pretty sure I'll never get it for a lower price. Brand new. If you're willing to go used, you could probably find something, but like brand new, it's a bit of a tough one. So while overall I have a very positive opinion towards these shoes, and you know, I don't regret buying these for Black Friday, and I really love, you know, this being in its stark sort of black and white colorway. I do think for the price point, there are definitely some better shoes, or like some more interesting shoes you can maybe go for. But if you're a super fan of the aesthetic and like you're kind of someone who's really into, I guess, like a tech wear kind of look, the 11 by BBS stuff all looks really good. The boots, the Bamba 2s, the 3s, I've seen the 4s, they're kind of boring. The 5s I think look really sick, and I've seen 6s, not really a fan of those, but there definitely is something for any sort of tech wear flavors. So if you're into that, I definitely recommend sort of checking them out. But with that out of the way, we've come to the end of another video. So I'd love to hear what you guys think of the Salomon and BBS 11 by BBS Bamba 5 in the black and white colorway. And out of some of the Bamba 5 colorways that are out there, what are some of your favorites? So for me, I quite like the gray sort of pair that they had, like the gray object dye, as well as there was one season where they had a sort of like blood red one, and it looked amazing. Never seen it on sale anywhere. It's just one of those pictures I keep seeing every now and then. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section down below. And if you're into more dance, sneakers, vlogs, that sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Time for the on feet. I'll catch you guys in another video. Salomon!